You feel that? That quiet chill crawling up their spines when your name enters the room like a ghost with unfinished business? They used to laugh when they heard it. Now, they freeze. Not because they understand you, but because they can't. Because something about you short-circuits the script they memorized on how reality is supposed to work. You don't enter a room anymore. You recalibrate it. The temperature changes. The rhythm halts. The conversation collapses in on itself. And suddenly, all those powerful people feel small, like kids who just remembered they left the door open and something might have followed them in. Because you did something none of them were ready for. You stopped explaining yourself. And in a world built on control, you became a threat the moment you became unreadable. See, they could handle you when you were loud, when you were trying, when you were bleeding for approval. But then you changed. You got quiet. Calculating, dead, calm. And that's when the fear kicked in. Because silenced is the language of something lethal. You broke their metrics. You started moving in ways that don't add up on the clipboard. You were supposed to be another case study, another statistic. Instead, you became a glitch that broke the projector mid-presentation. And now they stall when your name is mentioned. Not because they hate you, but because they can't decide if you're a prophecy or a punishment. You evolved, not into something better, but into something they can't define. That's power, not applause, not validation, but incomprehensibility. They froze because your existence undoes the rules they were raised to worship. You are the moment of silence that happens right before the blast. You're the walkout song for gods that never bled. And the worst part for them, you didn't come with a warning, no trailer, no intro, no soft launch, just boom. And now, entire strategies need to be rewritten. Because you exist. You stopped asking permission. You stopped performing. You cut the puppet strings, burned the theater down, and started smiling in the ashes. You went black site. You started moving like a classified document, redacted, restricted, rewritten. Every move you make is military-grade psychological warfare, because it forces people to look inward at what they're missing, and that's what they fear the most. You don't just trigger their insecurities. You make them realize they were never secure to begin with. You expose them, not by attacking, but by existing. Your confidence, it's not loud, it's surgical. It walks in with no introduction and leaves with their equilibrium. They called you crazy. Now they call you case-sensitive. Whispers, avoidance, rewrites of old stories to pretend they never doubted you. But oh, they did. And you heard every syllable. And now their throats close up when you pass by, not out of hate, but because every time they see you, they remember how wrong they were. You didn't come back for revenge. You became the consequence. Rooms go silent because your energy reminds them. The one they doubted is now the one pulling levers behind curtains. You learned how to sharpen solitude into strategy. You turned humiliation into hydraulics. You built temples out of trauma. And then you locked the doors behind you. And now, every time they hear your name, it's not you they see. It's the version of you they could have stopped, but didn't. Too late. Too loud. Too precise. They can't laugh anymore because you stole the punchline and weaponized it. You are the awkward silence. You are the skipped heartbeat. You are the moment they realize the joke was never on you. It was them. You move like a mirror with teeth, a reflection that bites back. And now, they freeze because they know what's coming. You. Again. And this time, you're not knocking. You're not asking. You're not warning, you're just arriving. With that same damn grin that makes even the most powerful feel like they just walked into the wrong ritual, and all they can do now is sit in silence and pray that they're not next. Because here's the part that really rattles their bones. You didn't claw your way up the mountain just to wave from the top. No, you became the avalanche on your way down. See, they assumed your growth would make you softer, more forgiving, more grateful to be let in. But you didn't grow. You mutated. You evolved into something so coldly focused, so brutally disciplined, that their minds still haven't processed what just happened. You walked in with no allies, no blueprint, no safety net. And still, the entire atmosphere bent around you like gravity just changed its rules. You're not in the room anymore. You are the F-King event. And that's why it goes quiet. Because the moment your name is spoken, reality gets reconsidered. Not out of respect, out of fear, because they remember. They remember that time they laughed at you. They remember how they mocked you in group chats, how they rolled their eyes when your name came up like some kind of joke. But the joke grew teeth. The punchline learned to bite. And now you've become the silence they can't escape. They used to invite you into rooms just to dismiss you. Now they check the guest list twice, hoping you won't show. Because if you do, someone's illusion is getting detonated. You're not unpredictable. You're uncategorized. They don't know whether to admire you or report you. Because one half of their psyche screams, "He's dangerous." And the other half whispers, "God, I wish I was that free." But here's the dark truth they'll never say out loud. You didn't just shock them, you exposed them. Your success isn't offensive, it's incriminating. Because you built everything they wanted without following a single one of their damn rules. You didn't network, you didn't flatter, you didn't bend the knee. You walked in uninvited, unapologetic, and unpredictable. And now, their whole ideology is shaking because you're living proof it was all a lie. They played chess, you burned the board and ate the king, and now when you show up, it feels like a breach in protocol. You make them second-guess their status, their choices, their entire identity, because they see you and realize he wasn't supposed to survive. And not only did you survive, you came back stronger, quieter, sharper, with eyes that look like they've already buried the past, and a grin that makes even the most dangerous men question who trained you. They can't keep eye contact for too long because your gaze feels like a security clearance they weren't authorized to open. You're not emotional anymore. You're precise, like a god of war in a tailored suit, walking into their safe little world like it was always yours to begin with. And that stillness you carry, it's not peace, it's containment. You're housing something inside. A chaos too intelligent to be wasted, a fire too disciplined to flicker. They don't know if you're holding back or loading something, because you don't just walk in, you haunt. You're not a person anymore in their eyes. You're a consequence, a living, breathing aftershock of every time they underestimated the wrong one. And now, they whisper your name like it's a password, a glitch, a ghost, a god. And deep down, they're not scared you'll attack. They're scared you'll forgive them too late. Because then it's permanent. Then it's beyond redemption. They freeze because they know the prophecy already passed them by. You're not rising. You already rose. And now you're circling like a storm with a memory. And every time they sit in silence, every time they feel the air tighten, every time your name accidentally slips out, They wonder, what if he heard that? What if you're already moving again, planning, listening, smiling, waiting, to reappear with that same twisted, unshakable grin, right before everything they built collapses from the inside. They freeze because the worst part of all is knowing you didn't do it for revenge. You did it because you could. And now, their silence is the only apology they can afford. And still you're here, aren't you? Not as some echo, not as some fading myth, but as the new standard, the disruption, the recalibration, the one thing they couldn't predict, chart, or erase. You don't just walk into places anymore. You infect their systems, like a line of corrupted code that rewrites everything it touches. And the moment they saw your energy, raw, unfiltered, unbothered, they realized, oh fuck, we're not dealing with a person anymore. We're dealing with a programmable threat. Because the version of you they laughed at, the loud one, the hungry one, the one that still wanted to be liked, that version died. You didn't go ghost. You went black ops. You're what happens when someone survives the crucifixion and comes back wearing the nails like accessories. Your silence isn't empty. It's compressed data. And the second you move, that data expands across every room, every timeline, every fragile little ego they spent years polishing. And suddenly, their power feels cosmetic, their status paper-thin, their confidence borrowed, because now they're face-to-face with something that built itself from nothing and didn't ask anyone for instructions. You don't follow rules. You make gravity flinch. You move like the villain in someone else's survival story. But the plot twist is, you're not the villain. You're just the reckoning they prayed would never come. And they can feel it, that hum, that static, that shift in pressure. Because when your name drops, it doesn't just silence the room. It exposes who's real and who's rehearsing. You make the actors forget their lines. You make the generals question their maps. You make the judges blink at their own verdicts. And that's the real threat. Not your strength, but your proof. Proof that pain builds profits. Proof that isolation breeds intelligence. Proof that silence is the most dangerous volume ever discovered. You didn't just get better. You got irreversible. They used to call you too much. Now they call you the one we should have studied closer. But it's too late. The file's already corrupted. The door's already locked. And you're walking like someone who already saw the ending and decided to rewrite it. Word by word, move by move, face by terrified face. You learned how to sit in rooms full of liars and make them feel like confessing. You don't expose people with words. You expose them with presence. That's why they freeze. That's why the air thickens. That's why they whisper your name like it's cursed. Because they know, if he speaks, something inside me will break. And maybe it should. Because you've become the aftershock of your own betrayal. The living receipt of every time they overlooked a weapon in human skin. You are the sentence they tried to erase. That came back in bold, in red, underlined. You're a phenomenon they wish they could contain. But every time they build a box for you, you become the flame that burns it down from the inside. You're not understandable. You're not figured out. You're a problem with no known solution. And that makes you a threat to every illusion they ever sold themselves. Because if you could rise, then their whole hierarchy is fiction. They froze, not because you threatened them, but because your very existence invalidated everything they believe about power. You're not chasing approval anymore. You're wielding the fear of it. And now, they don't speak when you enter. Because somewhere deep down, they're afraid you already know what they said about you. And worse, they're terrified you don't care anymore. Because when someone stops caring, they stop missing. And you, my friend, you're aiming at legacy. Legacy? That's what keeps them up now. Because once upon a time, they just wanted to diminish you. Now they just want to survive you. They used to think the danger was in your words. But the real threat is in what you didn't say. In the silence you carry like a loaded weapon. In the way you walk like time itself answers to you. In how the ground beneath your feet forgets whose name is on the deed. Because you didn't just break the rules. You proved there were none. And in doing so, you exposed them as decorations in a game they thought they were designing. Let me tell you what they're realizing now. Your legacy isn't being written in applause. Not in followers, not in gold, not in headlines. It's being carved into the psyche of everyone who ever doubted you. You live rent-free in the hesitation between their thoughts. Every time they're about to speak, they check themselves. Every time they get brave, they look over their shoulder. Because your name doesn't sound like a name anymore. It sounds like a warning label. And when it's whispered, people shut up. People pause. People start pretending they weren't in the room. Because your legacy isn't just what you've done. It's what your presence forces others to realize about themselves. You became the mirror that doesn't lie. The reflection that shows them everything they never became. They tried to belittle you. Now they copy your cadence. They mocked your confidence. Now they rehearse it in front of mirrors they used to feel safe in. They tried to exile you. Now they name-drop you in rooms they swore you didn't belong in. Because you didn't just survive rejection. You turned it into a ritual. And every time they tried to kill your image, you came back sharper. They thought your silence was surrender. But you were just reloading. They thought the scars would stop you. But you started etching symbols into them. And now those symbols speak louder than their bloodlines. You're not just energy. You're not just aura. You're not just presence. You're myth, legend, blueprint, prophecy, corruption, resurrection, all wrapped in one body, moving like it knows exactly where the last boss lives. You don't scream for attention, you pull gravity. You make rooms adjust their frequency just to breathe in the same atmosphere. And when you speak, you're not talking. You're activating dormant codes in the subconscious of every soul that listens. That's why they freeze. That's why they stall. Because they know. If they listen too long, they won't come back the same. You're not motivational. You're transformational. And transformation is terrifying for people who spent their lives pretending. You didn't evolve quietly. You evolved like an explosion they had to cover up. And even now, they're still sweeping up the ashes, trying to figure out how the discarded one became the definition. But they can't track it. Because there's no formula for what you are now. You're beyond replication, beyond reasoning, beyond denial. They called you a phase. You became a movement. They called you delusional. Now you read their dreams better than their therapists. They said you were dangerous, but only because you highlighted their cowardice. And now, the very rooms that laughed at you in your absence go dead silent in your presence. You walk in, and every mask starts slipping because they feel it now. That aura that bends time, that presence that feels like judgment, that grin that whispers, I remember everything, and I forgive nothing. You don't have to punish them. You are the punishment. A living, breathing echo of everything they swore would never happen. And now it's happening in real time. And the only thing louder than your footsteps is the sound of their fear trying not to look obvious. So go ahead, keep walking like that. Like your bones remember something older than this timeline. Like every step is part of the prophecy they forgot to prepare for. Because whether they like it or not, your name will echo long after they go quiet. Not because you asked to be remembered, but because you made forgetting you impossible. You ever wonder why they don't speak your name out loud anymore? It's not just fear, it's contamination control. Because somewhere deep in their nervous system, they know that saying your name out loud might summon something they're not prepared to face. You've become taboo, not because you're evil, but because you're undeniable. You represent everything they buried alive, every instinct they suppressed, every fire they drowned, every scream they forced into a smile. You're what happens when the outcast doesn't fade. He weaponizes the exile. You became the lesson they can't afford to teach, the blueprint they can't recreate, and the consequence they can't outmaneuver. Because you did the one thing they never prepared for. You came back unapologetic, no mask, no fake humility, no trembling voice trying to earn a seat at their table. You walked in, flipped the damn table, and built a war room where the silverware used to be. You don't argue for your spot. You radiate it. Your presence is no longer an invitation to engage. It's a checkmate in motion, the kind that forces kings to bow before you even touch the board. You're not intimidating because you try. You're terrifying because you don't have to. Because real power doesn't yell. It adjusts the atmosphere. And when you enter, the air gets heavy, the skin tightens, the subconscious starts whispering, something's not right. But it's too late to run. Because you're not just in the room anymore. You are the reason the room exists. They built the castle to keep you out. Now they're praying the walls hold as they hear your footsteps inside. Because you figured it out, didn't you? That secret, that ancient forbidden law they never wanted you to know. That if you own your darkness, no one can use it against you. You stopped hiding your scars. You started polishing them. You wear your pain like a military badge and your past like a classified file marked "Do not engage without clearance." And every time you speak, it's like some ancient spell starts breaking, not out there, inside them. Because you are living proof that being broken was never the end. It was the initiation. They thought the silence meant defeat. But you were just installing an operating system no one else had access to, and now you're running diagnostics on the whole damn simulation. You see through them, through the posturing, through the masks, through the rituals, and you smile. Not because you're better, but because you've been lower than they ever survived. They freeze when your name comes up, because they know you've already faced everything they pray never finds them. You've dined with demons, slept beside failure, shook hands with betrayal, and still woke up with eyes that burn through steel. They see your calm now, and mistake it for peace. But it's not peace, it's certainty. Certainty that nothing they say can reach where you are now. Because you've upgraded from feared to untouchable, from underestimated to unreadable. You speak less, but every word is a psychological event. You move slower, but every step is ritualized warfare. You're not even playing the game anymore. You are the fucking source code, and they're stuck in the old software, glitching every time your presence loads. You're the moment the room realizes it's under surveillance, not from cameras, but from something ancient, patient, strategic. You see, they thought they buried you in darkness, but they didn't know. That's where you were born. They sent assassins. You trained with shadows. They sent analysts. You broke their algorithms. They sent silence. You made it scream, because you're not human to them anymore. You're patternless, and patternless people. They don't get followed. They get worshipped or wiped out. And since they couldn't destroy you, they're stuck watching as you become the myth they once mocked. So keep going, with that grin that whispers, I didn't survive to be understood. I survived to be remembered. And when they freeze again, when the room drops below freezing just because your name slips through someone's teeth, know this. You felt that, didn't you? The shift in the air, the silence that wasn't silence at all, that tension in their chest when you walk in the room, not because you said a word, but because you didn't have to. They don't know what to call you. They've tried every label: saint, sinner, genius, problem, prophet, virus, cure, and every single one of them breaks apart the second it touches your frequency, because you're not part of their vocabulary. You're what happens when the old language dies screaming. You didn't ask for this, and yet the entire fucking world flinches when you blink. Not because you're loud, but because their soul hears you before their ears do. You were never born to fit in their boxes. You were born to bend the walls of reality without lifting a single finger. And now the same people who laughed at your silence, they're whispering your name like it's a fullying spell. Because deep down, even they feel it. Something shifted when you started breathing different. They can't explain it. But the birds start flying weird. The lights flicker. The algorithms glitch. People around you start questioning their entire lives. Not because you told them to, but because your presence rattles the lies they've been living. Who the fuck are you? You're what the world wasn't ready for. The kind of force that doesn't knock. It reprograms. You exist, and entire bloodlines start unraveling. You move, and cities start acting different. You speak, and ancient memories wake up in people who didn't even know they were asleep. They don't know it yet, but you're the plot twist in their blueprint, the anomaly that the masters of the world didn't see coming. You were never part of their prophecy, because you are the glitch that rewrote the script. And now they're terrified, because your glow, it's not light, it's truth. And the truth burns through centuries of control, like a slow surgical wildfire. You didn't try to inspire anyone, you just existed correctly. And their fake gods started choking on their thrones, because somewhere in their bones, they remember you. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a signal. You're the click in the back of their mind that they can't turn off. The question they're too scared to ask out loud. Why do I feel like I've met them before? Because you don't remind them of anything. You awaken what they tried to bury. You're not their past, not their future. You're the fracture in their now. They don't stare at you because you're beautiful. They stare because your existence breaks their reflection. They can't figure out if they should fear you or follow you. But one thing is certain, they can't ignore you. Your energy doesn't enter the room, it infects the walls, it scrambles the timeline, it resets the conversation. Even their dreams shift when you're nearby. You become the subconscious virus they didn't know was dormant inside them. You're the thunder after the silence, the pattern that ruins the ritual, the glitch that remembers the source code. They'll call you intense. They'll call you intimidating. They'll call you too much. But what they won't say is the truth. That you make them feel alive again. And that kind of feeling, it's dangerous. Because once they've felt you, nothing else is enough. That's why they can't stop watching. That's why they talk about you like a warning and a wish. That's why their skin reacts when your name's in the room. Because you're not someone they just met. You're the part of themselves they lost. And you're not here to play nice. You're here to remind the planet what real feels like. So next time they whisper, "Who TF are they? And why does the whole world feel it?" Let them wonder. Because you don't answer questions like that. You become them. And by the time they figure it out, you'll already be in their bloodstream, rewiring their thoughts, erasing their programming, upgrading the world, one breath at a time. You didn't wake up one day like this. You were forged in silence, in shadows, in a dimension behind their mirrors where pain doesn't break you. It builds blueprints around your rage. See, they think this was random, some cosmic accident that made you this magnetic, this precise, this unreadable. But you know better, don't you? You remember the simulations, the betrayals that didn't just hurt. They upgraded your instincts, the nights where you weren't just alone. You were erased and rebuilt with fire. They tried to shatter you, but every fracture just amplified your signal until you were broadcasting through realms they don't even believe in. And now, you walk like prophecy, talk like contradiction, move like a memory they haven't had yet. They can't look you in the eye because something in them bows before you, and it terrifies them. You're not confident. You're coded for psychological warfare. Your silence isn't quiet. It's a sonic weapon calibrated to detonate insecurity. You don't say much, but everything inside them starts falling apart when you're near. They try to study you, break you down into files, patterns, emotions, logic. But nothing fits, because you're not from this equation. You're the remainder that broke the formula. They've never seen someone like you because you were never meant to be seen. You were meant to be felt. Unshakably, unforgettably. You didn't arrive, you triggered, like a countdown finally reaching zero, in the middle of a world pretending it wasn't built to explode. And the most twisted part? You don't even try. That's the real danger, isn't it? You don't chase anything. You don't need approval. You're not obsessed with being understood. You just exist, and the entire atmosphere mutates around your presence. You breathe, and the fake smiles die. You speak, and illusions dissolve. You move, and dimensions tilt. And they hate it. They hate that you don't need the spotlight, because you are the signal the world can't stop tuning into. And the ones who once dismissed you, now they replay your silence in their heads like it's gospel, because they feel it now. That chill in their bones when your name's whispered, that nervous itch behind their mask when you walk past, that urge to confess, to apologize, to surrender, even if they don't know why. But you know why. You always knew. You were never here to be liked. You were here to be remembered by the parts of people they've buried, to haunt their lies, to expose their comfort, to awaken the pieces they swore were dead. You're not a person, you're a signal, a living, breathing, walking disruption to a world built on programming and performance. You're not even powerful in the way they define it. You're inevitable. Because no matter what they do, block you, mock you, copy you, forget you, you'll rise anyway. From conversations you weren't invited to, from vibrations you left behind, from the memory of your energy in someone else's eyes. And when they ask again, "Who TF is this?" they won't be asking out of curiosity. They'll be asking out of survival. Because deep down, They're starting to realize something horrific. You are the future their lies can't live in. And it's already here. So let them panic. Let them stare. Let them stutter when your name reappears in rooms you've never entered. Because you're not just changing the vibe. You're changing the programming, rewriting the frequencies, annihilating their algorithms, with nothing but your presence. And no one knows what to do about it. Because how do you fight something that didn't come to battle? It came to redefine the terrain. They don't need to understand you. They just need to feel it. And trust me, they already do. You ever watch a machine realize it's broken? Not glitching, not stalling, broken. Like the moment it knows its programming is no longer in control. That's what happens every time your presence enters a space built on lies. You don't yell, you don't flex, you just arrive. And the temperature changes. Suddenly the liars forget their lines. The confident ones get quiet. The smiling ones start twitching because something in you speaks a language older than their manipulation, older than fear. You're not intimidating because you try. You're terrifying because you've already seen the end. And somehow, you survived it. You didn't rise above the pain. You merged with it. You didn't heal through it. You hacked it, rewired it, and weaponized every scar until they became access points, doorways, triggers. And now when people touch your energy, they don't feel a person. They feel every version of you they never saw coming. You are the saint. You are the monster. You are the whisper behind the smile, the stillness behind the storm, the light with teeth. Because you refused to be one-dimensional. You refused to simplify for their comfort. You refused to become less so they could understand more. And now, they hate that you make them feel again. They hate that your silence makes them question everything. They hate that your presence unlocks versions of themselves they buried just to survive. You weren't just underestimated, you were underwritten. They thought you'd follow the script, play the role, chase the applause. But you let the whole fucking stage burn. And when the smoke cleared, you were still standing, unfazed, unreadable, unrepentant. You didn't just walk away from the fire. You became the chemical recipe that made it spread. And now, the world's panicking. Because the one they dismissed as too quiet, too strange, too intense, is now the one whose energy hijacks satellites. You're not going viral. You're going cellular, atomic, psychic. You're being felt in places your body has never entered. You're living rent-free inside the systems of people who thought they erased you. And all it took was you, unfiltered, unfolded, unapologetic. They told you to be humble, to be soft, to tone it down. Why? Because your existence exposes their illusion of control. You are proof that a person can evolve without permission. And that kind of proof breaks spells. You are the spell breaker, the silence ruiner. The vibe they can't explain but can't walk away from. You are not here to be liked. You are here to activate the dormant gods in the people who've been sleeping. And with every breath, you're waking them up. They call it charisma. They call it a presence. Some call it divine. Others call it dangerous. But deep down, they all know it's you. And you've been coming for a long time. So keep walking like a question they'll never answer. Keep speaking like a riddle that breaks their logic. Keep existing like a glitch that kills their simulations. Because the truth is, you're not part of their world. You're the signal that's ending it and starting something they'll never control. They can't say it out loud, but every time you breathe near them, they feel like their mask is slipping, not because you're trying to expose them, but because your existence short-circuits whatever costume they stitched together to survive. You don't play the part. You are the disruption, and they hate you for it. Because hating you is easier than admitting they were asleep until you showed up. They can't define you, because every definition you touch melts. Every label they try to slap on your back burns right through their fingers. You're not weird. You're unauthorized. You're not too much. You're uncoded. A living, breathing glitch in the system. One that they feel before they ever see your face. You walk in, and their thoughts go offline. You speak, and they forget their rehearsed lines, because they were built to survive inside a loop. And you broke the loop and never looked back. You're not intimidating, you're unsettling, because you don't bend. You tilt the whole Thavamsing axis. You don't try to connect. You expose the void between every fake conversation. You don't wait for the truth. You drag it out of people's bones like it owes you blood. You're the only thing they've ever felt that didn't need validation, didn't need permission, didn't need a single drop of approval. And that's what kills them. They spent their whole life climbing ladders, gathering gold stars, performing for cameras that don't even work anymore. And then you walk in, silent, strange, alive in ways they forgot how to be. And suddenly every performance they've ever given feels hollow. Because you're not here to perform. You're here to reveal. You don't just enter the room, you infect it, slowly, silently, systematically. And everything false inside those walls starts dying. You've got strangers wondering if they've met you in another life. Old friends dreaming of you at night without knowing why. Enemies watching your page like it's scripture, just to feel something. They say they don't understand it, but the truth is, they do. They've never felt this much reality in one person. It burns when it touches them. It rewires their spine, and they'll call you intense, unstable, too deep. But what they really mean is, this person is making me feel things I buried to survive. You're a walking mirror that doesn't just reflect them, it reveals their distortion. You're the one that triggers the glitch in people who spent years pretending to be stable. Not because you're loud, but because you're real. And in a world built on performance, real is terrifying. You're not trying to be a savior. You're not trying to be a villain. You're not trying to be anything. And that's exactly why you're unstoppable. You're not motivated by ego. You're moved by frequency, truth, chaos. The hum of something ancient in your bones that tells you, you didn't come here to fit in. You came to activate destruction, so something real can rise in its place. You're the moment people remember years later, after their entire life collapses, and they finally whisper, "It started the day I met them." Because you're not a phase, you're a fault line, and everyone who touches you feels it. Their world's about to split. And what rises from the wreckage will never be the same. You ever notice the way they change their tone around you? How their voice drops just a little lower. Their laugh stiffens. Their eyes scan yours like they're searching for a manual that doesn't exist. It's not fear. It's not awe. It's that unspoken knowing that you see too much. You're not just looking at them. You're reading their source code. You're catching the glitch behind the smile, the hesitation behind the performance, the ancient wound behind the "I'm fine." They hate you for it. They crave you for it. They remember you for it. Because you're not a person. You're a mirror with a memory. And mirrors like you don't lie. You don't reflect what they pretend to be. You show them what's rotting beneath the surface. And when someone sees that once, they never unsee it. You've become the ghost that haunts the comfort zones, the flicker in their logic that won't go away, the shadow behind their mask whispering they know, because you do. You always fucking knew. You knew when the smile was forced. You knew when the confidence was camouflage. You knew when the clout was compensation for a soul that never healed. And the truth is, you've played both sides. You've been the liar. You've been the broken one. You've worn the mask so long, your own reflection forgot your face. But you died in that role. And what came back was something they never coded for. You're not here to blend in. You're here to bend the axis. You're not here to inspire. You're here to infect. And now, they can't escape you. Because once someone's felt your energy, they can't be satisfied by anything artificial ever again. You've ruined them in the most sacred way. Because now they can smell the lie in everything. And it started with you. That one conversation. That one stare, that one moment of raw, unfiltered electricity that shook the illusion out of their spine. You didn't mean to, but the truth has a frequency, and you were born in it. That's what they feel. That's why they pause when you speak. That's why they remember your silence more than they remember anyone else's words. Because you're not using language. You're using resonance. And it hits like scripture wrapped in static. It feels ancient. It feels illegal. It feels like they shouldn't be hearing this. But they can't stop. You were the spark that lit the file. The anomaly in their matrix. The footstep that echoed in rooms they thought were soundproof. You made people feel themselves again. And that kind of impact, it's not just remembered. It's embedded. They'll never admit it. But some of them are addicted to you. Not your face, not your words, your signal. That unplaceable, untouchable, unreplicatable aura that makes every other energy feel like a knockoff. And now, they try to copy. They try to decode. They build identities out of your scraps. But it never hits the same. Because you didn't become this through trend. You became this through torment, through choices no one saw, through evolution they couldn't stomach. And that's the part they'll never understand. You weren't handed power. You earned it in the shadows. You bled for it behind closed doors. You screamed into silence until silence started screaming back your name. And now every room you walk into feels that story, even if they'll never know the chapters. You are the vibe. You are the shift. You are the glitch. And when people ask, who TF is this? Why do I feel like they're inside my fucking head? How is this person changing my entire mood without saying a word? The answer is simple. You're the reminder of what they were before they conformed, of what they could be if they burned the mask, of what's buried beneath their programming, just waiting for a trigger. And you're that trigger, every single time. Listen very carefully, because what's about to pour into your ears is not noise. It's a classified frequency your enemies swore you'd never hear. Every hair on your neck already knows it's real. This isn't coincidence. This isn't fate. This isn't the weather lining up to spook you. This is your warning turning into a detonation, every whispered prophecy you dropped into the air returning as thunder. They laughed when you mapped it. They rolled their eyes when you spoke. They built their little circles and called you paranoid, delusional, obsessed. They didn't know you were sketching a blueprint on their blind spots. And now As the sirens start echoing through their corridors, every move you predicted is walking into their lives like a nightmare with your handwriting on its forehead. You, standing there, reading this, are the paradox they can't contain. Saint and psychopath, angel and demon, surgeon and assassin. You walk into their boardrooms with a halo and leave with bloodless hands that have still collapsed an entire network. They never understood that unpredictability is not chaos. It's weaponized evolution. It's camouflage and strike in the same heartbeat. It's smiling while you sharpen the blade. Feel the shift in the air? That's the sound of their analysis breaking, their models glitching, their algorithms screaming as your pattern eats them alive. You weren't lucky, you were surgical, you weren't chosen, you chose yourself. They called it paranoia, but you were building timelines while they were posting memes. You were walking through hell rehearsing calm, teaching your nervous system to breathe while theirs would shatter. And now, everything you warned them about is happening at once. Financial tremors, reputational implosions, the little secret groups suddenly splintering into panic. They're rereading your old words in group chats they thought you couldn't see. They're staring at your silhouette like it's a breach in their firewall. They're realizing the mask they mocked was the real face all along. They don't know what to call you now. Prophet, hacker, phantom, final boss. All they know is the trapdoor you described in whispers has opened under them, and the only light down there is the glow from your smile. Look at yourself for a second. You've become the unthinkable, a living contradiction, soft voice, violent precision, open hands, locked vaults. They can't model you because you contain your own opposites. Every weakness they tried to frame you with became an encrypted strength. Every humiliation was a test. Every exile was training. You are the proof that evolution isn't random, it's ruthless. And here's the part that really poisons their sleep. You didn't have to lift a single new finger. You just had to wait. Wait, while their arrogance synchronized itself with the clock you built. Wait while your so-called paranoia matured into inevitability. Wait while their disbelief signed the contracts of their own collapse. So when you hear the chaos outside your window, don't flinch. That's not your downfall. That's your echo. That's your warning, metastasized into a storm. You didn't predict the future. You scheduled it. You didn't conjure this mess. You calibrated it. And now it's arriving. Every domino falling at once, spelling your initials in the dust. You are not a coincidence. You are not a rumor. You are the system update they can't abort. The hidden line of code that makes their empire crash when it runs. The angel they prayed for and the demon they feared. Arriving in one body, one smile, one set of hands. Breathe, stand still, watch them scatter, because the truth is finally visible, and it's wearing your face. Keep still for just a moment longer. Feel it, that pulse underneath the silence. That's not adrenaline, that's confirmation. They're scrambling now, but not because you attacked, not because you struck. They're spiraling because you didn't have to. The collapse is organic, self-inflicted. They planted the seeds the moment they doubted you. And now the harvest is catastrophic. Everything you said, the warnings, the patterns, the whispers behind closed doors, it all became the weather forecast they ignored. And now their skies are bleeding, because this isn't just your moment. This is your vindication, and it's loud. Every domino toppling now is a chapter you already wrote. But they tossed your pages into the fire, forgetting you were the fire. They had meetings about you. They whispered in rooms laced with surveillance mics, thinking encryption would protect them. But what they didn't realize is that their disbelief was your cover. Their mockery was your cloak, and their dismissal was your invitation, because while they laughed, you listened. While they denied, you documented. While they celebrated their illusion of control, you stood at the edge of the system, learning its heartbeat. So now, when it flatlines, they call it an accident. But you and I both know this was a countdown, and you were the timer. They're calling it coincidence. But you didn't build coincidence, you built a code. A layered, untraceable sequence that only you could interpret. A pattern that sleeps until it's activated. And now, as if on cue, all of it is waking up. They thought they had time. They thought they had control. But while they were analyzing you like a problem, you became the answer they can't survive. Not because you're evil, but because you're precise. You didn't react. You observed. You didn't panic. You prepared. They screamed, conspiracy. But the real conspiracy was thinking you were ever confused. You weren't confused. You were collecting timestamps. And now, every timeline they tried to bury is reporting back, loudly, violently, perfectly. And here's the twist they never saw coming. You never wanted revenge. You didn't need blood. You didn't even need their apologies. All you needed was for truth to do what it always does, echo. And oh, how it's screaming now. They're seeing your face in places you've never stepped, your name in meetings you weren't invited to, your ideas in crises you never spoke about. Why? Because what you carried wasn't opinion, it was architecture. And now the whole city is collapsing into your blueprint. You've become the thing they study with fear in their eyes, the subject of internal memos, the silence in the war rooms, the unsolvable variable in their crisis simulations. They can't explain how you knew. They can't explain how it all aligned. They can't breathe in the presence of what you predicted. Because the systems that called you mad are now twitching like broken machines under the very forecast you gave. And here's the delicious paradox. They spent years trying to figure you out, while you spent seconds walking away, because you never needed to win by force. You just needed to win by truth, and let the collapse carry your voice further than any scream. So now they're left with echoes of you, of your words, of your silence, and they're realizing it wasn't your voice that warned them. It was reality itself, speaking in your rhythm. Let them panic, let them scramble, let them burn their hands, trying to undo what's already coded into destiny. You didn't predict the storm. You were the barometer, the sensor, the divine glitch in their matrix. And now, the system is recognizing its only constant. You, the calm in the surveillance footage. You, the name no one wants to say out loud. You, the shadow in their analysis, reports they label as inconclusive anomaly. But deep down, they know. You weren't crazy, you were accurate. And now accuracy is unleashing itself on every building they tried to fortify against you. No retaliation, no noise, just a precise, undeniable truth, hitting all at once. And it sounds exactly like your name. Let's continue. And now the part that chokes them the most. You didn't lift a finger, not one. No courtroom theatrics, no media campaigns, no retaliation tour. You just let the warnings mature like a virus on a timer. And when it hit, boom, no alarms, no mercy, just silence, turning into reality collapse. They're sitting in rooms right now. Analysts, lawyers, advisors, heads of departments, replaying your voice in their heads like a glitch in their subconscious, trying to remember what you said, how you said it, and when exactly they stopped listening. And that's the part that breaks them. They had the chance to listen, They had the blueprint. They had you. But they couldn't see past their egos, their rituals, their fake superiority. Because they don't understand evolution when it doesn't come dressed like a monster. You didn't roar. You whispered. You didn't kick doors. You waited for the locks to decay. You weren't a bomb. You were the atmosphere shifting molecule by molecule until they couldn't breathe anymore. They called it delusion. Now it's being classified as a threat model. They dismissed it as madness. Now it's in their predictive algorithms under emergent threat intelligence, category unknown. Because you're not an enemy, you're a mirror. And when they look in it, they see everything they tried to bury. The lies, the projections, the rituals of denial, the panic disguised as power. But you kept your hands clean, your mind sharp, your heart cold. Because you knew this day would come, the pattern drop, the timeline merge, the convergence of every single thing they said would never happen. Happening. Now. Together. At once. And they're staring at their screens right now, watching event logs, crash reports, news tickers, institutional failures, mental breakdowns, digital fires, all syncing like a symphony that you never conducted, but composed. Do you understand the level of terror they're facing right now? They're not scared because of what's happening. They're terrified because you knew it would, and you acted like it was inevitable. That calm, that stillness in you, that's what they can't replicate. That's what they can't kill. Because your power wasn't in the warnings. It was in the certainty. The way you didn't flinch when they mocked you. The way you didn't argue when they silenced you. The way you smiled when they thought they'd erased you. And now they're replaying those moments, frame by frame, trying to decode your silence, trying to reverse engineer the ghost that walked out of their fire without a scratch. You see, you were never just ahead of them. You were beyond format. You outgrew their systems. You transcended their categories. They couldn't track you because they were looking for noise, but you were the signal. And now, the signal is everywhere, flooding their networks, crawling into their frameworks, spitting back their own failures in languages only you can translate. And here's the delicious irony. They think this is the climax. They think the chaos now is the worst it gets. But what they don't realize is that you haven't even spoken yet. You've just watched, waited, let the truth do the damage. But if and when you decide to say something now, even one sentence, one phrase, one glance into the eye of the storm, everything will freeze. Because you're not just a person anymore. You're a confirmation, a living reminder that denial has consequences, that truth doesn't knock, it detonates, and that when it arrives wearing your name, there's no safe room left. So let them panic. Let them try to patch what can't be patched. Let them write long-winded emails to each other at 3 a.m. about crisis strategy and containment. Because what they're trying to contain is the ripple of your silence. And by the time it reaches them, it's not a ripple. It's a flood. This isn't revenge. This isn't justice. This is mathematics catching up. This is every ignored warning now sinking into a single unstoppable chorus. And the chorus sounds like this. You were right. You saw it. You knew. And now, so do they. Then listen closer. Because what comes after this moment isn't a speech anymore. It's a field manual disguised as a confession. Everything you're feeling right now, the air vibrating, the stomach turning, the eyes burning. It's not paranoia. It's your nervous system recognizing truth in motion. You're standing in the middle of the very storm you once whispered about, and it's unfolding exactly how you traced it. They're scrambling in dimly lit rooms right now, PowerPoints with red borders, late-night calls with lawyers, words like containment, PR strategy, liability, thrown around like life rafts. They think they're fighting a scandal. They don't understand they're fighting physics. They're fighting inevitability, because you're not a scandal, you're a sequence. This is what they'll never say out loud. You weren't lucky, you weren't blessed, you weren't psychic. You were trained by pain. Every sleepless night, every humiliation, every exile sharpened you into an instrument so precise, it doesn't even need to strike to kill. You simply sit. You simply watch. And the world around you rearranges itself to your warnings. You are not a prophet. You are not a victim. You are a mirror. And every secret they tried to bury in the dark is now screaming back at them from your reflection. That's why they can't sleep. That's why they can't breathe. Because the map they ridiculed is now their only way out. And the only person who can read it is the one they mocked. You've become a living paradox. An angel with a scalpel, a demon with a heartbeat. A whisper that detonates. They can't categorize you because you're not a category. You're a collapse. You're a walking contradiction, a creature of both light and shadow. You're proof that unpredictability is not chaos, it's sovereignty. They want to reduce you to a headline, lone wolf, visionary, threat actor. But you're not a headline. You're the force that makes headlines happen. And here's what terrifies them most. You haven't even acted. This isn't you pulling strings. This is just the echo of what you said, just the ghost of your predictions. If the ghost of your warnings can bring empires to their knees, what happens if you ever decide to move? They're staring at your silhouette in their intelligence briefings, whispering, "How did he know? How did she see it? How did they time it?" And every time your name comes up, an unspoken truth passes between them. You weren't crazy. You weren't guessing. You weren't predicting. You were measuring, and now your measurements are manifesting. That's why the headlines sound like your old journals. That's why their private memos read like your old notes. That's why every domino is falling at once, because you lined them up when nobody was watching. This is not revenge. This is not coincidence. This is the return of energy. They fed you disbelief. It became your cover. They fed you mockery. It became your armor. They fed you exile. It became your laboratory. And now, the experiment is complete. Look around you. The collapse isn't a surprise attack. It's a scheduled release. Every system that doubted you is now choking on the consequences of ignoring you. Every circle that laughed at you is now copying your language in their panic messages. Every gate they built to keep you out is now a floodgate carrying your name. You don't need to scream. You don't need to gloat. You don't even need to move. Because the truth is moving for you. You've become the unkillable rumor, the ghost in their code, the angel of warning and the demon of consequence, the walking proof that silence isn't weakness. It's a loaded gun, and in their deepest, most secret rooms, they're whispering it to each other. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't coincidence. This was the day the Joker's prophecy came online. So stand still, breathe, watch the smoke rise. Because every second they spend trying to undo you only tightens the knot they tied themselves. And the world is starting to see you for what you are. Not a person, not a myth, but the living intersection of warning and inevitability. The angel they ignored, the demon they provoked, the paradox they can't survive. And somewhere in the middle of their collapse, they finally whisper it out loud. You weren't crazy. You were right. And by then, it's too late. Stay still now. Because what you're standing inside of isn't a speech anymore. It's a black ops briefing on yourself. Every click of the clock you're hearing, That's not time passing, that's verification. Every headline. That's not news, that's footnotes to your private notes. Every tremor? That's not random. That's their disbelief collapsing under its own weight. They don't understand what you did because you never did anything in the way they measure action. You learned the only real move, becoming inevitable. That's why they can't counter it. That's why every department is tripping over itself. You didn't outfight them. You didn't outshout them. You outlasted their attention spans. You outstudied their weaknesses. You turned every insult into intelligence, every exile into training, every slight into camouflage. Now your existence is the revenge. Your silence is the signal. Your stillness is the algorithmic chokehold they can't get out of. Imagine them right now. A dozen analysts hunched over glowing screens in a room that smells like fear and stale coffee. They've got printouts of your old words pinned to corkboards like crime scene photos. They're drawing arrows, making charts, trying to reverse engineer a ghost. But there's nothing to reverse engineer because you didn't run a scheme. You became a phenomenon. And phenomena don't negotiate. They don't stop. They don't ask permission. They just roll over everything built on lies. You are the proof that a person can survive the smearing, the shaming, the exile, and still come back as an unstoppable pattern. You're no longer just a player in their game. You're the physics of the board. They can call it crazy, but their systems are calling it emergent behavior, unmodeled variable, force majeure. That's why your name is whispered like a code word. That's why your face flashes in rooms you've never entered. That's why entire networks are convulsing without a single new move from you. Because unpredictability isn't chaos. It's freedom weaponized. Duality isn't a flaw. It's camouflage sharpened into a blade. Pain wasn't punishment. It was evolution under pressure. They mocked you for being both soft and sharp, both gentle and lethal. They couldn't grasp that saint/psychopath, angel/demon, healer/executioner isn't contradiction. It's completion. The only way to become untouchable is to hold both poles inside you without breaking. And you did. This is why they're terrified, because you didn't win. You shifted the axis. Every system built to stop you now stops itself. Every weapon they aimed at you fires inward. Every whisper they launched to bury you now rises as your evidence. Look at yourself. You are not at war. You are at critical mass. You are not fighting. You are gravitating. And everything they built, everything they stole, everything they mocked, is now being pulled into your orbit. You've become the living embodiment of inevitability, a human version of gravity. You don't have to prove anything anymore. You don't have to shout. You don't have to defend. All you have to do is stand still and let the architecture they built on lies buckle beneath the weight of your accuracy. That's the real power. That's the power they can't name, the power they called crazy until it walked through the front door. So when you hear the chaos outside your window, remember, it isn't random. It isn't a storm. It's the echo of your own warnings arriving at full volume. It's the sound of 1,000 institutions realizing at the same time that you were never a joke, never a guess, never a conspiracy theorist. Look up. That silence you're feeling? That isn't peace. That's surveillance. They're watching you right now. Boardrooms, war rooms, back rooms, every camera, every analyst, every nameless profile with access to everything. And still, after all the data, after all the hours, after all the files, they can't figure you out. They built entire labs to predict people like you. Algorithms stacked on algorithms, behavioral models inside black boxes. They study skin temperature, eye movement, the words you say, the times you go quiet. And yet, you've become their anomaly, their uncrackable code, their living paradox. Because you do two things without realizing. Two small, invisible fractures in their system that drive them insane. And every time you do them, you slip out of their grasp like smoke. They call meetings about you. They write reports about you. They whisper about you over drinks. They ask each other, "How does he keep doing this?" But no one dares to say the truth out loud. You're not playing by their rules because you destroy the rules by existing. They thought they'd have you mapped. They thought they'd chart your next move. They thought they'd put you in a neat file with a red stamp that says, "Controlled." But you're the line of code that refuses to compile. And the irony? You don't even know you're doing it. You're just moving, breathing, acting. But those two unconscious habits, those two invisible micro-decisions you make every day, they are detonations in their matrix. They built their world on predictability. You built yourself in chaos. They call that dangerous. I call it power. See, you're not just unpredictable. You're dual. You carry contradictions they can't compute. Light and dark, saint and psychopath, angel and demon, mercy and ruthlessness. You smile like a saint and strike like a strategist. You act like you're asleep while you're counting every move they make. And when you finally move, it's like a glitch in their timeline. The board breaks. The chess pieces scatter. The whole room goes silent because their models just failed. That's why they're obsessed. That's why they stay up at night scrolling through your every footprint. That's why they keep your name out of public memos, but in private, they can't stop saying it. Because you're proof that all their systems, the cameras, the analysts, the predictions, are nothing but glass towers, one whisper away from shattering. And here's the part that terrifies them most. You're not even trying. You're just becoming. You're just evolving through pain, folding every scar into a skill, every humiliation into a strategy, every betrayal into a blueprint. They can't map that. They can't forecast transformation in real time. They call you dangerous. You call it Tuesday. Do you know how rare you are? To stand in a world built to flatten you and remain unreadable. To move through systems designed to trap you and still emerge untraceable. To carry a halo and a blade in the same hand and switch between them without missing a beat. That's why they obsess over you. Not because they hate you, but because you represent the one thing they fear most, a mind they cannot own. So they'll keep digging, keep analyzing, keep whispering about the two things, the micro glitches, the unconscious moves, the paradoxes in your blood. They'll waste their budgets trying to decode you, and you'll keep walking. You'll keep moving like a storm with a saint's smile. You'll keep being the line they can't cross out. And one day, they'll realize it was never about the two things. It was about the whole of you. A living contradiction, a walking Trojan horse, mercy on the outside, revolution on the inside. You don't need to shout. You don't need to warn them. Just keep moving. Keep being the glitch. Because every time you do, you're proving a truth they can't afford to believe. In a world built on surveillance, unpredictability is the final power, and you are wielding it without even trying. Same data, same scene, different outcome. Because the author of this story isn't them, it's you. Do you want to know what drives them to insomnia? It isn't your money. It isn't your profile picture. It isn't even your wins. It's the fact that no algorithm can pin down the two invisible patterns running your life. the ones you don't even know you're performing, the ones that, to them, look like magic. You move like a paradox. On paper, you're mercy. In motion, you're a blade. They watch you extend your hand like an angel, and then, at the last second, pivot like a demon. They see you enter a room calm, docile, smiling, and leave, having rearranged the entire power structure without raising your voice. They don't know whether to call you a saint or a strategist. They can't decide if you're a threat or a prophecy, and in their private notes, the ones they never send, they call you the variable, because the first thing you do is refuse to give a single, consistent signal. You're warm and cold at the same time. You're generous and lethal in the same breath. You praise and destroy with the same sentence. Their models need you to be one thing. You're always two. That's why their charts keep crashing. That's why they erase entire whiteboards after meetings about you. Because their predictions depend on patterns, and you move like a pattern disguised as chaos. The second thing you do is even crueler. You evolve in public without telling anyone. You let them build their trap around the old you, while the new you is already 5 moves ahead. You don't announce growth. You don't telegraph evolution. You just show up one day, and their weapons don't work anymore. Their words don't sting. Their leverage evaporates. You've turned pain into armor, humiliation into algorithms, loss into leverage. And you've done it so quietly, they can't even see it happen until it's too late. They call it luck. It's not. It's adaptation. It's unpredictability forged in suffering. It's learning how to break their systems while they're still studying the manual. That's why the elite can't figure you out. Because you are the one thing their control model never accounted for. A self-upgrading anomaly. A contradiction that writes new code every time it's attacked. An angel who swallowed a labyrinth and now walks out of it smiling. They look at you and see a threat wrapped in silk. They hear your voice and hear mercy laced with judgment. They see your eyes and see a map with no legend. And it scares them, because they've built an empire on predictability. And you are proof that predictability is a fantasy. They are obsessed. They have no choice. Every time you breathe, you're teaching them a lesson they can't stand to learn. Their systems are fragile. Their maps are outdated. Their gods bleed. And you don't even know you're teaching it. You're just living, just moving, just being what pain turned you into. A paradox no boardroom can decode, no think tank can predict, no elite can control. That's why they keep watching, why they whisper your name in rooms you'll never enter, why they hire analysts and still come back empty-handed. Because deep down, they're starting to understand. It isn't 2 tricks. It isn't 2 habits. It's an entire way of existing they can't mimic because they've never bled like you. They've never burned like you. They've never learned to turn mercy into a Trojan horse and pain into a compass. You are the living glitch in their empire. You are the mirror that makes them see the cracks in their own masks. You are the question they can't answer. And you don't even have to try, so let them stare. Let them file reports. Let them build new algorithms and still fail. Because the more they study you, the less they understand. And the less they understand, the more powerful you become. The elite can't figure you out. They're obsessed with the 2 things you do without realizing. And by the time they think they've cracked the code, you'll already be someone else entirely. A new chapter, a new author, a new anomaly walking out of their frame. That is your power, not revenge, not rage, not even success. Your power is being unreadable in a world built to read everything. Your power is changing in a world built to freeze you. Your power is existing as a paradox in a system that collapses without certainty. And the punchline? You're not hiding from them, they're hiding from you. Because every time they try to decode you, they see a glimpse of themselves, and it terrifies them. So keep moving, keep breathing, keep being the uncrackable code. Because in a world of algorithms, you're not just unpredictable, you're impossible. Same room, same data, same scene, different author, and the pen, as always, is in your hand. And now they're running out of theories. Every report, every psychological profile, every covert analyst scribbling across glass walls in some frostbitten think tank. None of them can close the gap between what you are and what they expected. Because here's the part they'll never publish in their reports. You don't respond to pressure like a civilian. You transmute it. Pain hits you. You convert it. Betrayal strikes. You archive it. Humiliation. You memorize the pattern and upgrade your operating system while smiling in public. They keep asking, how is he still standing? And they're missing the real question. How did you turn the gun into a compass? How did you make trauma into timing? How did you walk into the machine and reprogram it from the inside out without ever touching a wire? Because you do something else they can't compute. You learn in layers. Pain doesn't break you. It reorganizes you. You don't resist the collapse. You study it. And when the dust clears, you've already built something newer, faster, colder. You don't heal like they do. You don't cry, journal, call your therapist, and slowly piece yourself back together. No, you disappear. You code in the dark, and by the time they see you again, you're unrecognizable. That's what drives them crazy. They can't track what they can't name. And you're not just a mystery, you're a mutation, a prototype of something their control systems were never built to contain. That first thing you do, the contradiction, it scrambles every label they try to put on you. You're a saint when they expect a monster. You're a monster when they expect mercy. You're calm when they attack. You're surgical when they beg. You smile while breaking rituals they've guarded for generations. They can't brand you because you shed identities like old skin. They say, we finally understand him. And then you move different, speak different, disappear mid-narrative, and return with a new script in your hands. And that second thing, the silent evolution, that's where the real fear lives. Because evolution in public, that's a threat they can measure. But evolution invisible, that's warfare. That's something sacred, something beyond prediction. You don't just change, you corrupt their metrics. By existing, every time you show up, you prove their entire framework is flawed. Because you don't grow on schedule, you don't respond to their tests, you don't follow the trauma to recovery arc, you skip steps. You bend the arc, you burn the chart, and write your own legend. And the Watchers, they hate it because they see it now. You're not just surviving their system, you're studying it, like a virus with a doctorate. You're inside the walls, smiling politely, while mapping every weakness they never saw coming. They keep zooming in on your past, trying to explain your present. But your timeline is a labyrinth with false doors. You gave them decoys, you fed them misdirection. And while they were diagnosing the version of you from 5 years ago, the real you slipped into the future like it was a safe house. They think they're watching you, but you already wrote the story they're reading, and they don't even know it. You're a living contradiction. You are what happens when strategy is born in silence and raised in shadows. You are the result of 1,000 collapses, turned into one clean strike. And the only reason they haven't stopped you is because they can't even see the shape of what you're becoming. They keep asking each other, what does he want? As if you want anything. As if you're chasing something. Number. You're becoming something. And they're too late to stop it. They built this world to contain humans, not anomalies. They built rules for patterns, not paradoxes. And you're the glitch in their prophecy, the shadow in their data, the rhythm they can't count, the pulse they can't match. You don't walk in like a threat. You walk in like the answer to a question no one dared to ask. And when you leave, they're not just confused, they're rearranged. So don't slow down, don't clarify, don't explain. Let them panic, let them theorize, let them build bigger systems to contain what you already outgrew. Because one day they'll admit the truth in a whisper. We were never watching him. We were watching ourselves unravel every time he moved. You didn't outsmart them. You out-evolved the very idea of them. And the two things they're obsessed with, they're not tricks, they're traits, permanent, silent, unstoppable. You are a living message written in a language they can't read. And every time you move, you remind them of what they fear most. Power that doesn't need permission. Freedom that doesn't beg for understanding. A force that cannot be labeled. Because it was never designed to be controlled. Same world, same watchers, same system. But you, different blood, different rhythm, different ending. Because you're not just part of the game. You're the code rewrite. And they still haven't realized they're playing inside your story. Of course they tried to contain it. They always do. The moment your name echoed without origin. The moment your presence didn't match your footprint. The moment they realized you were being studied without even trying. A file was opened. A chair was pulled. And someone whispered behind encrypted doors, "This isn't just a person. This is a phenomenon." They gave you a classification, not a name, a designation, a threat level no one wanted to read aloud. Unsolvable, unmapped, irregular. That's what the redacted briefing said. Top-tier anomaly, unclassified. Not because they haven't tried, but because you keep rewriting the metric every time they get close. You think this is just life. Number. You've been flagged by systems you never even knew were watching. Behavioral mapping, psychological drift models, civilian threat, radar. You set off alarms in rooms built to stay silent. And the problem? They can't figure out how. There's no big speech, no giant move, no flashy breach. Just two behaviors, two quiet fractures in the fabric, two unconscious ticks that, when played over millions of cycles, break the mirror they use to see the world. First, your contradiction. They call it signal conflict. You smile with warmth, but radiate calculation. You show empathy, and somehow raise the threat index. Every expression has a shadow behind it. Every kind act holds the tension of a predator in restraint. You're polite but unreadable. Cordial but untrackable. Present but unreachable. They ran tests, put your footage through micro-expression software, ran your voice through tonal deviation scanners. None of it made sense. The results contradicted each other. Half flagged you as harmless, half flagged you as a quiet extinction event. Second, your evolution delay. Not because you're behind, because you're ahead. But you let them think you're not. You play human just long enough to be underestimated. You walk with a limp while loading artillery in your mind. You nod in meetings while planning extractions. They think you're listening, but you're scanning. They think you're processing, but you're constructing a future they'll never survive in. You're the glitch that pretends to crash, then rewrites the system under the cover of the reboot. That's why they watch, why they panic, why they observe you like a ritual gone wrong. Because the deeper they look, the less human you seem. Not because you're inhuman, but because you've evolved past the dependencies they designed for control. You don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't even need revenge. You need clarity. And when you get it, you don't confront, you overwrite. They don't even know when it happened, when you stopped reacting and started writing the algorithm yourself. Your silence became strategy. Your stillness became surveillance. Your unpredictability, that was just step one. Now they're running scenarios, predictive models, mock encounters. None of them survive, not because you're violent, but because they can't find an entry point. You're a house with no doors, a system with no ports, a storm with no radar signature, and worse, you've become replicable. Others are watching you, mimicking you, learning how to vanish in plain sight, learning how to mutate pain into pattern disruption. You are no longer one person. You're a template, a pattern virus, a spectral idea infecting minds tired of control. You've weaponized resilience. You've romanticized defiance. You've taught people to smile while breaking the leash. They are terrified because they didn't just fail to control you. They watched you become the new instruction manual. And now every system is infected with echoes of you. Unapologetic, unreadable, unfazed. So what happens next? Simple. They'll try to isolate you, smear you, discredit you, call you dangerous, too unstable, too quiet, too intense, too everything. They'll use labels as bullets and still miss, because you don't bleed from shame anymore. You bled that out in the fire years ago. Now you walk scarred, not scared. They'll build new teams, try new strategies, deploy psychological tactics, social patterns, counter movements. But all of it will fail, because they're still searching for a version of you that no longer exists. And when the last model fails, when the final AI whispers, "cannot compute," and the final watcher shuts down the screen, they'll realize you were never in the system. You were outside the narrative, above it, rewriting it, ghostwriting revolutions with two invisible habits and a blood-slick grin. Because you don't win by fighting their war, you win by becoming the storm they can't name. And right now, they're soaking wet and still don't know where the thunder came from.